So this video actually has the potential to start some mess. And y'all know I'm here for that. So let's dive into it. Alright guys, welcome to this episode of Rolling with T-Bone. As we are of course rolling down the road on Miss Kitty, who is making her grand triumphant return to Rolling with T-Bone. If you're new here, my name's T-Bone. I shoot motorcycle related content and any kind of content really. If you are new here and you've not subscribed yet, I would invite you to go back and watch some of my previous videos and make sure that I'm right for you, because I know I'm not right for everybody. And then if you think I am, consider giving me a subscribe. If you are a new subscriber, and I have several new subscribers right now, can't remember everybody's name, but welcome into all my new subscribers as we are growing and rolling, baby. If you're old here, welcome back. You saw the clickbait, so y'all know why you're here. Alright, so the question was, and if you're new here and you haven't seen the video, I shot a video here, it's about 2 videos back, that asked the question, was the 60s and the 70s the golden era of motorcycles? Some people, a couple of people, I ain't gonna say everybody, but a couple of people kind of reached out to me in private messages, and they said, was it really the golden era? So let's talk about the 80s and the 90s. So the argument could be made, and they did make a legitimate argument, that Harley Davidson, after buying itself back from AMF in the early 80s, 1980 to be exact, that Harley Davidson, the golden era for Harley may have began in the 80s. Now, if you followed that other video into this video, and you're thinking, yeah, but you were talking about choppers from the 60s and 70s, you're exactly right. So the 80s, and I've covered this in other videos, so I'm not going to go deep down the rabbit hole of the 1980s for Harley Davidson, because Harley Davidson did hit their stride in the 80s with the birth of the Evo engine. You know, a lot of great models were built in the 80s. You saw the Wide Glide come into being. You saw a revamp on the Super Glide. The Super Glide 2s came along. From 1980 all the way to 1989, Harley Davidson did a lot of great things. Of course, in 1987, they introduced the Springer, the Softail Springer. And the Softail line is what really put Harley Davidson kind of out a little bit further than the other companies during the 80s. But like I said, those videos have been done to death. So let's move into that next decade, shall we? And in moving into that next decade, baby, we're talking about the 90s. Now, the 90s were my decade. I adolesced and came into adulthood in the 90s. As a matter of fact, I turned 18 in 1995, right when another era was beginning in the motorcycle world. Now, in the 90s, again, every motorcycle company through the 80s and the 90s was making great strides. Harley Davidson actually ended the 20th century on a high note, because the single cam Evo and the introduction of specialty models, and like I said, I'm not going to go deep down that, but you know, 1990 saw the birth of the Fat Boy. 91 saw the Dyna Sturgis Glide. 92 saw the Dyna Daytona Glide. You know, there was a lot done in the 90s for Harley Davidson. And of course in 99 you got the twin cam Evo came out, and what I think is one of the best looking Softails Harley Davidson ever built was the 99 Night Train. I would still love to get my hands on a 99 Night Train. If you got one that you're wanting to do some swapping around with, holler at your boy. But nonetheless, but what I'm talking about and what the 60s and 70s, it kind of came back to just choppers and bobbers, cafe racers. So if I stay with that theme, then we have to stop and take a real good long look at the 90s, because the 90s was the new era. I won't say yet it was the golden era, but it was a new era where the Pro Street custom chopper came to life. Guys, we used to call them the billet brigade because everything was chrome and billet, and man, they built a lot of them. Companies like Arlen Ness, companies like Pro One, companies like Big Dog, Bourget, I mean, Paul Yappy, the list goes on and on and on and on. And a lot of chopper people from that are my age said that they believed that the Pro Street coming along in the 90s and beyond the 90s might actually put the Pro Street into the golden age category. And there's an argument to be made for that, but because really in 95, 96 you had Speed Channel. For those who had the satellite dish, you had the Speed Channel that came along, and man, Speed did a lot for the motorcycle industry. Speed did a lot for the motorcycle industry. I mean, they were going to Sturgis, they were going to Daytona, they were doing special shows about, the new chopper scene, if you will. And I'm going to tell you guys, I was right there in it. And that's why people say, well, you could trade the Joker and get just any kind of motorcycle you want. I could, but I'm not going to, because the Joker, that style, that Pro Street custom bike, that was the posters that hung on my wall. Just good looking bikes that were, hopped up on big horsepower, and they were just cool. And we saw that craze hit, man. I mean, we saw TV, we saw American Chopper, we saw Jesse James, which Jesse, he built a couple of Pro Street style choppers, but by the time we got to Jesse James's Motorcycle Mania, Jesse was very much a throwback chopper builder. No frills, good looking choppers. And along with Jesse James, you had guys like Billy Lane, you had Indian Larry. Man, Indian Larry is one of my favorite chopper builders. If you're watching this and you don't know who Indian Larry is, please just search Indian Larry in your YouTube page and just go watch some of the cool choppers he built, man. The guy was a showman. He was a carny in New York. He was an entertainer, but man, he could build a beautiful chopper. And he built these choppers to ride around New York City, so they were a little bit different than your standard chopper. But you look at those throwbacks, and that's where it kind of comes from, where they're saying that the 90s might have been the golden era of choppers, because you had guys like Indian Larry and Billy Lane and Jesse James. These guys came into prominence, and to an extent, I'm not going to leave out Paul Tuttle Sr. The stuff that Junior built, that was just specialty choppers for a TV show. But I've actually looked through Paul Sr.'s catalog at some of the bikes that he was building in his basement back in the 70s. Paul Tuttle was a chopper builder. Make no mistake about that. Paul Tuttle built good-looking choppers. And if you want to jump in and get real specific in the American Chopper TV series, excuse me, guys, look at the bike that him and Cody built, the Cody bike. And then look at the Prisoner of War Missing in Action bike, the Palmia bike that Paul Sr. built. Two beautiful throwback choppers. They were no frills, just good looking choppers. And you know, you got to give Paul Sr. his flowers because he built some good looking choppers. But I think that's kind of where the argument come in that, hey, you know, let's not leave out the 80s and the 90s, because the 90s could have been the golden era of choppers. The golden era of the kind of choppers that came along in the 60s and the 70s, no, they were not. But they had their own flash to them. So I would actually, instead of saying that the choppers of the 80s and the 90s were golden era choppers, I think I would go out on a limb even further, and I would call them Renaissance choppers, because they were bringing back the old ideas. Now certainly there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, I mean, yeah, there could have been a couple of bikes that came out of that time that could be labeled golden era bikes. Certainly anything that Indian Larry built in that time frame could be a golden era bike. The Paul Sr. bike I was talking about could have been a golden era bike, because you could see the 60s and especially the 70s, more the 70s than the 60s, but you could see that influence inside the bikes that they were building. But yeah, I mean, you know, that could be a touchy subject. Me personally, I think the 60s and the 70s would really be, if I was going to say what was the golden age of choppers. Now, I'm not talking about, you know I labeled these motorcycles, but I mainly ran toward the choppers and the customs when I was making these videos. So I would say definitely that the 60s and the 70s have a very strong influence in all the choppers, all the bobbers, all the cafe racers. Anything custom that came out in the 80s and the 90s was a direct result of the influence of the 60s and the 70s. So I would probably call the 80s and the 90s the motorcycle renaissance. Beautiful bikes came out of that, guys. And you know, I know people are trash talk them bikes. They would say, well, everybody and their brother was building a chopper. Well, you know, maybe, but I'm going to tell you something right now. As I was alive in that era, I was riding motorcycles in that era. If you rode a Pro Street custom motorcycle like Joker with a 100-inch rev tech or a 114 S&S on it, you were riding a very expensive motorcycle, because I've said it before in other videos. You know, go back and look at Jesse James's very first special that he did, Motorcycle Mania. It was on Discovery Channel. To start the conversation with Jesse James on building you a chopper, his baseline price was $60,000. And guys, he was in that decade. You know, Jesse James straight out of the 90s. So if you were fortunate enough to have one of those bikes then, one of those Pro Street custom bikes, then you had something. And there was companies that led the way for that. Roger Bourget led the way. Paul Yaffe built some of the baddest Pro Street custom bikes the motorcycle world had ever seen. because Paul thought outside of the box, and I'm a big fan of the Yappy Customs. I know now he has his Bagger Nation, but I'm a big fan of the Paul Yappy Customs. You know, his Pro Street choppers are awesome. Big Dog came along in that time, and I can remember I was probably 19, 20. No, I was 18 or 17 or 18 when I first saw the Big Dog Jammer, Jammer. It was called the Big Dog Jammer, and man, it essentially looked like a Harley Davidson. But you could tell by looking at it just in a hot second that it wasn't a Harley Davidson. But Big Dog's been around for a while. I mean, you know, there was companies that came out of that time that have still stood the test of time, because the Billet Brigade, it was about drag specialty parts. It was about big horsepower. It was about taking, I mean, Jesse James built a bike, the El Diablo. He built he built an Evo that was putting 240 horsepower to the rear wheel on a stripped down chopper. And not only did he do that, he made it a jockey shift with a foot clutch, because he was a throwback. But you know, you got to give the 80s and the 90s their flowers. Time will answer the question, was it the golden era of choppers? Like I said, and I'll say it again, I think I would lean more toward it was not the golden era as much as it was the renaissance, the chopper renaissance. But I love listen guys, that was my generation. That was Generation X. That was our choppers. So when I ended up with the Joker, it's like I ended up with the bike that was hanging on my wall when I was a kid. Not that specific bike, but they all pretty well much followed the same kind of theme. Low slung, low drag bars, big horsepower. And then they kind of started getting a little bit exaggerated. When you got on into the 2000s, you started seeing 260 rear tires, and then 290 rear tires, and then that big fat ass 300 rear tire. And then you had a guy in Florida called Eddie Trotta. If you don't know who Eddie Trotta is, Google Eddie Trotta. He was excuse me guys, Eddie Trotta put a 320 rear tire on a bike once. But that was later on into the 2000s. Some of the things that they did in that time period were a little excessive, but they still made good looking bikes that people were willing to pay big money to get. Oh, Miss Kitty, you're singing my song, baby girl. Oh, Miss Kitty, talk to me, baby. All right, I'll slow you down. Oh God, sorry about that, guys, but T-Bone gotta have his fun. You know, I had considered, and I had even talked to the guy, I had considered trading this bike for a 750 chopper, good looking chopper, very well done. It was a 74 750, and I know y'all are going to hit me in the comments talking about I would have traded, but man, I love this bike. Miss Kitty has very quickly found a place in my heart, and man, the more miles I put on this bike, the more I'm starting to understand it's probably going to be very hard for me to get rid of this bike, because Miss Kitty is and if you are new here and you don't know, Miss Kitty is a 1999 Dyna Super Glide Sport, but she's not the blacked out version, she is the blonde version. She is been redone by a sister of mine in my club, Michelle. She had her fresh painted, a lot of fresh new parts put on her, but Michelle never could get comfortable on her, so I ended up trading copper for Miss Kitty, and this bike has very quickly found a place in my heart. And you know, the guy was like, sure, I'll trade. I mean, I'm down with it, I'm for it. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to trade this bike. So that's how that goes. Because Milkman asked me, he said, what's going on with the 750? I'm like, I backed out. He said, well, that's not, I mean, I'm not shocked. Oh, God. But this bike right here, man, Miss Kitty, she does her thing, baby. She likes to move Big Daddy around. But guys, I'll tell you what, I threw it on the ground. Was it the 60s and the 70s, the golden era? Was it the 80s, the 90s, and the earlier 2000s, the golden era? There it is. I threw it down. Y'all fight amongst yourselves about it. Oh, yeah, you know, guys, like I said, I love my 90s bikes. Blue Moon is a 97 Super Glide. Kitty is a 99. The Bad Boy is a 94 with some 2004 attributes. But I love my 90s Pro Street choppers. I just do. You know, it was, the 90s was the last of a lot of things. Because in the 90s, you had the last of the Evo, single count Evos. Everything went to twin cam. You had a lot of great bikes that were introduced, and it wasn't just Harley Davidson. I mean, you know, Kawasaki. But the trouble with the 90s bikes, and this is just me, don't come for me in the comments, this is just me, but in the 90s, the Kawasaki's, the Suzuki's, the Yamahas, well, I'm not going to turn here, the Hondas, they all kind of look the same to me, if that makes sense. You really had to do something to them to make them stand out. And that's why I loved my Punisher bike, the 750 Honda Shadow Spirit, because he had that pro street look, low slung, drag bars. Of course, now he was a 750, he wasn't making, you know, just 120 horsepower, but I loved to ride that bike because I had fun on that bike. Now, don't get me wrong, I like my tall Z-bars, and I like my ape hangers, and I like my shoulder bit even, but I also like my drag bars too. That's, you know, I like bike, what can I say? But there it is, guys. I've thrown it out here. Y'all jump down in the comments, and feel free to any of my YouTube brethren out here watching this, make your own video on this subject. You know, post it on your channel. You have your own platform. I want to see us all grow together. You know, that's kind of the last video I put out. I had talked about some of the subjects that the Recycled Hooligan had put forward about, are the motorcycle companies trying to get rid of us older riders. That was all great subjects. But I want to take a minute here to just a few things for Rolling with T-Bone. Kitty's got to have a battery, I believe. I charged her battery all the way up. Of course, she's running fine now. Big Papa's got to have a 3-hole oil change and a set of tires put on him. Because Papa's got to be ready to haul me and R1 to some of our favorite places to go. So, you know, things are happening. Things are going on. And I got to tell you guys, I'm very excited with the YouTube channel right now. Man, and let me say this, the Gatekeeper video, as of the last time I looked at it, was 8.1 thousand views, guys. That, outside of the Shade Tree Surgeon video that I shot, which is at like 31,000 views, the Gatekeeper video is my biggest, well, it's my second video with the most views, but it is my most viewed video where I wasn't talking about somebody else in the video. So thank you guys for that. I'm super excited, super stoked about that. I'll tell you guys, you know, and I'll go ahead real quick and I'll put this in this video. I wasn't going to say anything about it, but until that shade tree surgeon video broke that I shot a couple months back, I had actually planned on going on my vacation that I normally took, which I still haven't taken, from making YouTube content. But when that video broke, our channel started growing. But I had planned up until then, originally I had planned on stopping shooting content December 2023. My last content video was actually going to be a couple of months back in December. I kind of felt like the channel had grown stale, that I had grown stale, that I wasn't going to find out what, and I'm not saying I have found out the secret to YouTube success, because you can go look at the views on my videos and know that ain't right. But there, you know, you guys are commenting on my videos and you're reaching out to me and you're making this an exciting thing for me to do. And, you know, I have to thank you guys for that. I have to applaud you guys for that, because and I'm not, and well, not to say that I would have stopped completely making content, because I probably wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have kept it on the Monday schedule, and I wouldn't have been, you know, so serious about shooting content all the time. I would have just, you know, kind of said, you know, this is what I'm doing, and there wouldn't have been no heart behind it. So I got to thank you guys for that. I'm still, you know, you brought a lot of the excitement back for me to do this at a time when I had seriously thought about just quitting making content altogether. And well, if not quitting, at least extending the vacation longer than just 2 or 3 weeks. But I've got so many fresh ideas in my head now, and I've got so much stuff going on that I haven't even taken my mental break from shooting. But I don't think I need it right now, because the juices are flowing. I've still got great ideas, and you guys are coming up. Recycled Hooligan, he'll come in and he'll get my gears turning. He'll get me to thinking about stuff. He plants those seeds, and then the next thing you know, I'm sowing a whole garden. But, you know, my community that I have built with Rolling with T-Bone, you guys that are in the Premiere crew, and the guys, all y'all who come in and watch these videos afterwards, I feel an attachment to you guys, if that makes sense. I feel like we are a family here on the internet. And I've gotten to know some of you guys. I've gotten to meet, like, Flipping the Blue Mule. I got to meet Flip personally. And that wouldn't have happened without YouTube. So thank you guys for hanging in here with me. Even when I'm sure it came through in the videos that you were like, man, he made the video, but there wasn't a whole lot of enthusiasm behind the subject. So, you know, I have to say thank you guys for that. Oh, here comes a whole bunch of motorcycles. Motorcycles, a Vespa. Dirt bikes and Vespas, oh my God. T-Bone, they're not Harleys. Why did you wave at them? Because they're on 2 wheels. I am not brand specific. I know I say that and I ride Harleys all the time, but I'm not, you know, Harley ain't loyal to me. I'm going to tell you that right now. Harley ain't loyal to me. And one more thing. Somebody asked me, and I can't remember who it was, if I was going to do a video on the new CVO models for 2024 year. So I just hit the search engine on YouTube. If y'all want to see the new CVO, Rainy Rider has put out several 2 or 3 videos about the 2024 models. I'm not going to do that unless there's some 2024 model that really gets my gears to going. No, I'm probably not going to do that. But You know, Big Smitty Riding took care of that. I think Bleak Rides has even discussed some of the stuff, newer stuff. You know, Rainy Rider, like I said, covered it. Rainy covered it perfectly. If you're not subscribed to Recycle Hooligan, Rainy Rider, Flippin' the Blue Mule, all these guys you hear me talking about, go check their channels out, because they're really great guys. And if you're into Premier Chat right now, you're in here with some of the coolest people. And we call ourselves the Shade Tree Army. You got, you know, Julie Smith is here, Recycle Hooligan is here, Neil M is here. If Scott Free can get away from work, he's in here. R1, myself, Rainy Rider, AZDZ Adventures. So go check all these people out. Go back about 3 videos and you will see a Who I Watch list. Click on to the description there and it will take you to these people's channel. And then tell them T-Bone sent you and give them a subscribe. But guys, right here is where I'm going to drop this video off, because we got a 61-degree day and Miss Kitty wants to haul Big Daddy around, so I'm going to let her. But guys, thank you for being here with me. Debate it amongst yourselves. The next video might even be a little more iffy than this one, but until the next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And hey, thanks for watching.